In my own life, what I'm excited about is my own integrity. Learning to trust in myself feels like this huge gift that I've been given that excites me.
I would love to know how you perceive this cycle that we're living through of maybe a, metaphorical Ragnarok of destruction. What are we being rebirthed into? What is emerging right now in the world?
So I was watching this Nordic historian. He was talking about there being many Ragnaroks that have actually happened throughout human history. So it's not like there's one Ragnarok. It's like there's these cycles of death and rebirth. There's a kind of harmony between the upper world and the lower world. And apparently the sources from those old Norse times would talk about how it was absolutely essential that there was some kind of harmony between the forces of chaos and the forces of order, and that if that harmony is ever broken, it will lead to a Ragnarok. There's a point where everything changes, and like just when humanity is at its lowest, the divine will return and kind of balance will be restored. It's almost like we need to ride the wave of Ragnarok, you know.
Jack Morrigan, welcome back on Just Tap In, brother. What are you most excited about right now, globally and in your life?
Like in my own life, what I'm excited about is integrity. Like I'm excited about my own integrity, and I've had this big shift coming in where I realize for me what success looks like is actually just me being in integrity, and realizing that and really learning to trust in myself feels like this huge gift that I've been given that excites me. Around the world, I don't know if I have that same kind of feeling. Like I see a lot of problems around the world and a lot of lack of integrity. But I do also trust that we're in a process, and that sooner or later we're not going to have to worry about the things that we currently worry about.
And for those that have been listening to the show for quite a while, they know that I am a huge Marvel Cinematic Universe geek. And when I heard you channel the Black Dragon stating that we are in the middle of a Ragnarok, that really opened my eyes. And I know this is coming straight from Norse mythology, and they're big around cycles of destruction and rebirth. So I would love to know how you perceive this cycle that we're living through of maybe a, metaphorical Ragnarok of destruction. What are we being rebirthed into? What is emerging right now in the world?
Yeah, so I was watching this Nordic historian who goes into mythologies within the Norse culture, and he was talking about there being many Ragnaroks that have actually happened throughout human history, and that those were recorded by the Norse. So it's not like there's one Ragnarok. It's like it's these cycles of death and rebirth. And he was pointing to some of the oldest rune stones that they have. So that's where the Norse people would carve into stones, and those carvings would have significance about their mythology. And he was looking at the way that rune stones had been changing over time. And if you look at the oldest rune stones, they would show the world tree, and they would show it with a kind of link to the serpent of the underworld beneath. Like they had a specific serpent, I can't quite remember his name. I think it's like Nihelm or something like that. So it's like this serpent of the underworld, and it's linked to the world tree. There's a kind of harmony between the upper world and the lower world. And apparently those the sources from those old Norse times would talk about how it was absolutely essential that there was some kind of harmony between the forces of chaos and the forces of order, and that if that harmony is ever broken, it will lead to a Ragnarok. And then if you look at the change over time, they start creating barriers between the underworld and the world tree. I would imagine that they would start talking more negatively about the underworld and the forces of chaos and trying to distance themselves from it or trying to control it. So you can see that what they were warning about was happening, and that there was this disconnection between chaos and order, and that creates imbalance. And it's that imbalance that leads to a Ragnarok, because order or balance needs to be restored between chaos and order. So I think that's what we're going through at the moment, and like there's loads of sources that talk about that. What's the name of that famous guy who looks at like Atlantis, and he's got this Netflix special.
Graham Hancock,
right? Because I saw this YouTube video of him like ages ago, and he was talking about this very specific prophecy that the ancient Egyptians had, where they describe basically what we're living through, and that in that prophecy there's a point where everything changes, and like just when humanity is at its lowest, the divine will return and kind of balance will be restored. So I think we're living through those times. Like if you look around, it's not that hard to find evidence that we're living through those times. But that's not like something to get really worried about. It's just something that we can grow in consciousness about and learn how to kind of ride. It's almost like we need to ride the wave of Ragnarok, and see it as something beneficial and transformative, which is appropriate to be talking about right now, because while you and I are sat here, it's the eclipse, which is almost like a mini Ragnarok for the year.
It's so interesting that you frame it as Ragnarok is not the chaos itself. It's the separation and the fragmentation of ourselves from that chaos, from that destruction, the underworld. And I know you've talked a lot about your journey through awakening, and when you went through your ego deaths and your own Ragnarok moment, essentially you were connecting with the higher realms first. And then, we can get very comfortable in those spiritual fantasies. Like we're up here, we're seeing angels, we're doing all these things, but you chose to go down. You chose to go to that underworld. What was that journey like?
So I wouldn't say that I chose it. I would say it chose me. I don't know many people who would choose that. It felt more like
reserved for Scorpios only.
I've got a lot of Scorpio in my chart, and I'm definitely supposed to be this kind of spokesperson for the underworld. A friend of mine says I'm kind of someone who, I'm like a tour guide for the underworld. He calls me something like that. So it just happened. Like it wasn't something that I was thinking about or aware of. I had barely any knowledge of that process at all, if any. I just thought things were supposed to go up. And then things started going down. And that's not a negative thing. We have this whole cultural idea that up is good and down is bad, which I think is actually an extension of that disconnection that I was talking about before, that the Norse were recording. Down is bad. The underworld is bad. It's like, well, that kind of thinking actually creates that separation. But I just started going down. Basically, it started by moving into my heart. So I'd had these big awakenings up here, and a lot of the textbook stuff that you would see in spiritual awakening, like discovering the witness consciousness, kind of these transcendent like states. And then it kind of changed direction. I thought I was just supposed to hang out in that place forever and be like untouched by everything, like a little Buddha or whatever. That wasn't in my plan. So I came back down first into my heart, which really opened my heart, and I was getting all these sense of like unity with everyone. I remember sitting at my desk in my office and looking at a picture of a Hindu saint called Ananda Mayima, and she was in that state, like fully embodied in that state of like just being in the heart. And I like had tears like running down my face looking at her, bearing in mind that I'd been like emotionally blocked for at least 10 years, something like that. At that point, like I barely cried at all. And then I'm looking at this woman who I've never met, and I'm just like have tears at work, you know, which feels quite vulnerable. So that was going on, but then it just kind of kept going down. And then it's almost like it kind of went into my belly, and it started bringing up old issues that I was avoiding without even realizing it. You know, it's like if you'd been living in a dark room for decades and you didn't realize that, like, you know, your room doesn't look very good and it's got trash everywhere. It's that kind of feeling. And then it's like the lights started turning on and I'm looking around and I'm like, oh God, there's like all of this unresolved stuff everywhere. And that took me like into the dark night of the soul, I would say, which lasted for me about 2.5 years. It kind of took longer than that in a way, to really integrate. But something kind of happened after that where it went even lower. It went into the earth itself. It's like it went through my feet into the earth, and my body formed an energetic connection with the earth itself. And I realized, like, the earth is alive. She's alive, and just like my body has energy systems that flow through it, she has that too. And there's some that are literally just for me, like, that I can connect to. And then I have this wonderful special relationship with the earth herself. And, you know, then kind of realized, actually, I am the earth. Like, you know, like I am the earth, I am the cosmos, and all of that kind of started sinking in.
I've heard you say, and you said it in our last conversation actually, that the earth herself has become one of the main sources of divinity for you. What can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, like, so I had all this spiritual stuff starting to open up, and I went on this trip to Scotland and went into the Highlands, and I remember communicating with the mountains there and realizing that they're all like gods. Like, each mountain is like a god, and they're so incredible. And I was just so blown away, like their stability and their power and how ancient they are and how wise they are. And at one point it dawned on me, like, how many mountains are there on the earth? Like 10,000, 100,000? Well, one of those mountains is like leaving me, like, my jaws dropping because I'm so impressed by how amazing it is. But the earth has tens or hundreds of thousands of them all over the surface. I'd had similar experiences when I went to the ocean, connecting with the ocean and being just in awe of the power and wisdom of the ocean. And it's like, well, how many oceans are there on the earth? How many rivers? How many forests? All of those are expressions of Mother Earth. All of them. Like, so how immense is she as a being? Like, you can only kneel before something that magnificent. So this whole kind of downward movement and me being really connected with her has become something of like deep reverence, like she is my God in many ways.
And also going beyond the earth, we're also deeply connected to the cycles of other planets. And actually today, the day that this is coming out, is another eclipse. We're recording it on an eclipse. And this is the March 29th eclipse, a new moon in Aries. And Aries signifies a lot of themes around personal identity, independence, leadership. And the new moon signifies new beginnings. So what I gather from that is that there's almost a new beginning of our own leadership and the global leadership in the world. I think this is a very pivotal moment. And you open this conversation talking about integrity. How would you relate integrity to leadership and maybe some of those new forms of leadership that you feel are in most need to be emerging right now on the planet and for our species?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's absolutely essential, integrity and leadership. I think any leader who isn't leading from integrity is going to create problems that are going to need clearing up at some point. And obviously no one can be perfect. No one's going to be perfect integrity. And that's not something to strive for. In fact, the attempt to strive for perfect integrity is not an act of integrity. Because, like, we know, we have to accept our limitations as human beings, and that's being in integrity. But like, I think every leader needs to look at themselves and really take the time to work on themselves in such a way where they know what they're doing is right. Like, not in a delusional sense, not like they're trying to force themselves into that, but they know, like, to really, and you like to take the time to know yourself and your body and your intuition and your inner compasses enough that you truly know the difference between right and wrong. And you hold it so strongly that even when there's people around you who are contradicting that and putting you under pressure, you still stay in it. Because every leader is going to be challenged by people around them. You know, there's going to be people around you who are giving you bad advice and maybe complimenting you a lot and leading you astray. And you need to be able to notice that, see that that's out of integrity, not choose that path, stay in integrity. And to be strong enough to take criticism and to be outnumbered while you're taking criticism, and to still stay strong and in your integrity. And you will know, like, whether or not that's happening. And, you know, we all know, really, like, if a big situation's happened where your integrity's been tested, you can walk away from that and you will know if you were in integrity. You know, it may have been a horrible situation that really tested you, but at least you have your integrity and you know it. And someone who maybe sacrificed their integrity to make that situation easier for themselves, they will know that. They will know that they were out of integrity because it won't fit, you know, it won't sit right in the body and something will feel off. So that, I would love it if we had more and more leaders who are willing to do that.
And both of us have gone through a similar experience of now, you know, we're feeling called to expand our team and expand our, you know, support throughout this mission that we're carrying forward. And one of the things that the dragons that you have connected to, what they don't want is that they don't want us to forget our humanness. And, you know, I sometimes question, like, am I being a good leader right now? If I'm leading a team right now, am I being that ideal version of what I believe in my mind is supposed to be a great leader? And sometimes I fall short of that. Sometimes, you know, I don't speak in the most loving way. Like, these things happen. So what can you speak upon, you know, the dragon's advice on not losing our humanness while we're on this spiritual journey of evolution, because it's super important?
Yeah, it's a good question, because I was just getting a pep talk off one of them before this call, about some situations
One of the
that I've been
dragons.
through. Yeah. When I'm in the shower, I had a shower, right? And when I'm in the shower, it's something about it opens up my energy field. This is actually quite common. Like, I
For
think
me
it's
as well,
because,
water opens me up too.
right. It has this grounding quality that allows us to open. I think it's why people sing in the shower as well, but that's that's a side point. So I was getting some advice from Thlian Deshan, who's the white dragon. It's like the heavenly dragon of peace. And she was basically just saying, like, just don't blame yourself for anything. Like, and that's not the same as kind of not having accountability. Like, you can notice where, like, so in myself, like, I've noticed where I could have done things differently. It's like, oh, okay, I could have done that differently. And then I was checking in with her, and she was like, yeah, in theory, you could have done that differently. But in reality, there's this knot of energy in this part of your body, which guaranteed that it was going to be handled in an unskillful way. Like, and what were you supposed to do to prevent that from happening? Like, how could you have done that differently? You weren't in control of that knot of karma inside your body, and you didn't put it there either. So you're not to blame for it. You can take accountability and say, oh, look, I look at this situation, and next time I'm learning to do things differently, and I'm going to approach it differently. And I'm going to work on this knot that kind of made me become unconscious and handle that unskillfully. Like, you can do all those things, but none of that requires blame. It doesn't require like shame. And then also what she helped me do is kind of extend that out of myself and look at the people I was having conflict with and be like, that applies to them too. They couldn't control their karma in this situation. Maybe they could have handled it differently, but that's just theory. In reality, it played out as it did. And maybe it was meant to. Have you not all become wiser as a result? Then maybe this doesn't have to be seen as something bad, and actually was something necessary.
It was crazy because I was thinking that you were going to bring through the black dragon today. And then you said, no, today is the day for the white dragon. And there are a few experiences that also synchronicities that we're both experiencing again. I think we're very connected, brother, since we actually, for people that don't know, you came to visit in Madrid a few months ago, and we had a lot of fun around Halloween time, and it was a beautiful time. We had Alunia there, Ella Ringrose, and one thing that I notice about you is the way that you carry yourself and the way that you are able to be in full authenticity, and you just carry a sense of peace. So I would love to dive deeper into that energy of peace. If you would like, we could bring through the white dragon and ask a few questions. And then there are some other experiences that I wanted to talk to you about, recent trips of yours to Egypt. So we'll just tease that for a moment, but we'll get back to it.
Yeah, for sure. And it's a funny thing, like, a lot of people find me very peaceful, and that being around me brings people peace. I was talking to my partner about it the other day, because I get social anxiety. Like, so my own inner experience is like more turbulent than other people's experience of me. And I don't fully understand why that is the case. I'm happy that people feel peaceful around me. But I wouldn't want to make out like I'm some kind of like perfectly peaceful Buddha, because that is not the truth of my experience. But I can tap into beings who do feel like that, who do feel truly peaceful. And one of them is Thlian Deshan, the white dragon. And yeah, I'd love to bring her through for you now.
Beautiful.
Oh, just to say, I'm speaking dragon light language in this moment, and it'll open up the energy field. So some of you might feel that happening. So I recommend you just like relax and allow that to happen. Okay, so bear with me a moment. I'm just tuning myself in. I'll be able to talk more fully in a moment and just letting everything move as it needs to move. So I am Thlian, it's difficult to pronounce, Thlian Deshan, the white dragon of the rising rose. I am the heavenly counterpart to Gorkhoreth, who is the black dragon of the rising rose, and the two of us are in a kind of spiritual marriage. We are deeply connected with one another, and actually through bringing ourselves into human consciousness in the way that we are, we're helping to facilitate this unification between heaven and the underworld, which you were talking about before was kind of broken and was demonstrated by the ancient Norse people to have been broken. We're actually putting that back together right now as we're speaking. I'm primarily the one speaking, Thlian Deshan. I am part of some call it the soul star chakra. So the soul star chakra of the cosmos is what I am an embodiment of. And though I'm the one who's primarily speaking, Gorkhoreth, the black dragon of the rising rose, is also here. So both black and white, both underworld and overworld, are present right now as I'm channeling. It's a pleasure to be talking with you, Emilio. I do want to just say also, because I'm obviously channeling myself through Jack, and I'm channeling myself through this human being, and he has his unique way of channeling where he kind of stays more human than some people who channel, giving the impression that you're talking to a human being. And we like that because it allows us to engage with people more on the ordinary human level. But it does create a little bit of a kind of cognitive disconnect because it seems like you're talking to a human being, which is useful. But I just want to emphasize that I am literally a cosmic dragon. And obviously that's hard to grasp, but that is the reality.
I would love to ask you, how do we forgive what we believe to be our greatest mistakes? Hello, beautiful family. Quick one today. I just wanted to take a moment to thank each and every one of you that have subscribed to this channel. Your subscription means more than you know. Even though it's free, what you're doing is you're empowering a whole channel to be able to do this every single day and continue showing up in the way that we can with all of our resources on hand. Thank you for contributing to the growth of this channel, for sharing it with the people that you love, for creating a conscious movement of individuals that are seeking the sovereignty and the divinity of their soul. This is why we're here. And if you haven't already and you're enjoying this content, I invite you now to look below on that little button that says subscribe and welcome you properly to this community. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being who you are. and being pure love and radiating that with everyone that you see. Back to the episode.
Yeah. Well, you can take a look at them, and what I'll do is I'm going to go into Jack's body, because he's human. You're all human, which means you all have these things that you feel are your greatest mistakes, right? They're like knots, often inside your belly or your solar plexus. They could be in other places too, but that's a common place for them. And Jack has lots of these, right? He's human, so are you, and that's okay, right? And you look at them and you feel them, and you give yourself the opportunity to be tender with yourself. So the first step is just to kind of acknowledge that they do exist. It's like, okay, I do feel this way about myself sometimes, and I'm allowed to do that. I'm a human being, I'm imperfect, and that's okay. So you're aware of it, and then you feel it, but you feel it in a way, like how when you hold a newborn baby, right? There's something gentle in the way that you hold a newborn baby. It's vulnerable, and you know that, so you hold it gently. You might sing to it a little bit, you might move a little bit. And if you develop that kind of a relationship with the way that you feel these knots inside your body, they will feel that, because they themselves are like vulnerable babies. Oftentimes, they are crying out in pain. And that's what you feel is the kind of tightness inside. It's like that little baby is crying right now. So what you do is you just feel that, and you hold it the way that it deserves to be held. It softens then, and it starts to move. And the way I would work with that is then to expand the field. So a lot of self-help or spiritual working stuff is kind of, I am me in this body, and now I must kind of fix myself. But what I would do, because that's a lot of pressure. That's a lot of pressure on a person to go, okay, you are now responsible for healing and tending all of these wounds that, generally speaking, will have originated hundreds, if not thousands of years ago through your ancestral lines, or will be part of the collective consciousness that is pressing on you. And to my mind, that is too much of a burden to demand of a person to clear that. What I would encourage instead is to expand the field to beings like myself, or if there's some kind of deity that you work with or you have a connection to, connect with them, or connect with the earth itself or the cosmos itself, and invite them to hold this place within you. You are in the earth right now. So you're already being held by the earth, but your body doesn't know that. So if you can let your body realize, hold on, I'm truly being held by the earth right now. This burden is not mine to carry. She is already carrying it. Can I allow her to? And you could do the same with the sky around you. You are inside the sky right now. Every time you breathe the sky into yourself. And every time you breathe out, you breathe it back. And you can allow that to work for you. And of course, you can extend that to the cosmos as well. You're inside the cosmos right now. It's holding you. You are always, every single moment of your life, you have been inside the cosmos and have been held by it. But you don't know that. So my encouragement is to start getting to know that.
That's beautiful. And I would love to ask you, what would you advise to world leaders or individuals themselves that are perpetuating this mentality of war, taking us away from the energy and the vibration of peace? What would you advise to them?
Well, if I was sat with one right now, if I'm looking at you and you are a leader of one of the nations of this earth, I would want to listen to you. So I would want to be there for you and alongside you, because what a huge burden to carry. What an enormous pressure, and oftentimes a really challenging and thankless task. It's so many, understandably, many people point their fingers towards such leaders. Yet, if they were in that position, would they be able to do much better? It's a very difficult role, and you're under a huge amount of pressure from many, many different places. So what I would do is spend some time holding space for that person so that they can start to release some of that intensity that will be pressed into their system. And to do it with the wish that all beings will benefit from this. There's something very important about tending to the mental, physical, and spiritual welfare of our leaders. Because when we do so, their decisions are wiser and more compassionate. So they are some of the most important people to send loving kindness to, for example. It's all too easy to fall into a pattern of criticism. But a wiser course of action for you and for all people on this earth is to send compassionate love to them. Now, that it doesn't mean that you don't stand against certain things, right? You can still say no to certain policies. I'm not saying you just agree to everything, but you're creating this force of loving compassion for the people who ultimately, whether you want them to or not, lead you and have a significant influence on your life.
Are we stepping into a time collectively as humanity into more or less individuality?
That's an interesting question. Both, but I'm going to speak on that for a moment. I like the question. So it depends what you mean by individuality, right? So when someone starts to spiritually evolve, they will start to unify themselves with the cosmos and go through a transformative process. But during that process, it's common and good that they actually become more individuated at the same time. So in unifying themselves with the cosmos and in letting go of their ego, they actually become more themselves. So the universe wants to express itself in a multitude of individual forms. And it wants each of those individual forms to be truly what it is, to be truly authentic. It doesn't want to create a rose which wishes it was a tulip. The rose wants to be the rose, the tulip wants to be the tulip. And through spiritual awakening, you can become more you. So you actually can become highly individuated and really certain of yourself, truly certain of yourself. So that's like the positive way of it. I believe your question is more about, there's obviously a pressure happening at the moment within society where people are becoming more separated from one another. And within that, there is that movement, but then there's the unification movement happening at the same time. Spoilers, the unification movement will win. But I like what I was saying before because it highlights something important that, excuse me, that isn't spoken about enough within the spiritual community, that actually individuation is a part of the spiritual path.
What would you say to circumstances where certain individuals are born maybe believing that they're in the wrong body, or they develop that mentality at a later stage in their life where they feel like they're literally not in the body that they were supposed to be in? Spiritually, where do you see that from your purview?
That's a very, very interesting question. So there can be instances where that can be correct for a person. However, there's a risk in certain ways of thinking where we actually abandon our bodies, and that's coming out of a fear of the body. So the fear of the body is one of the, you could call it, I don't want to use too much like biblical language, but in a sense, an original sin. So all I mean by that is a mistaken way of being, right? That isn't beneficial. So there are thousands of ways that people fear their bodies, and it's like the soul doesn't really want to come in. It's afraid of coming into this world. And when you look at a lot of the ascension talk, there's a lot of that within there. This fear of the body. But really what needs to happen is for the soul and the body to become one. They need to unite together. And that reunification, in many ways, is the great return that we've been speaking about. So I really want to encourage people to give their body a chance, like to give their body a chance as it is, and be willing to meet it as it is. And that can be an act of real courage, and it can be a real process, but that is the guidance I would like to give about it.
I love that. And of course, we're looking out at the external world, and we're seeing there are two major wars going on, one in Ukraine, one in the Middle East. And I'm curious to know what the cosmic dragon's presence is in those places on Earth where there is a large degree of violence and wars and just a lot of chaos. How do you foresee your presence there in those times and in the times that we're living right now?
So we are in the process of bringing ourselves into human consciousness. Now, despite how capable we are, we have limitations. And we're grateful to you because you're helping us to spread our message and our energy in ways that can be helpful and help us come in so that we can aid the great return. But this connection that our conversation with you right now is a very open-minded space right? So it's easy for us to come in. Of course, humanity has some very open spaces and some very closed spaces. Now, wars are very closed spaces. So for us to get in there is more challenging. We can, because the actual intensity of war, the pressure it puts on the human psyche can cause spiritual awakenings. And then we can enter through those, but it's difficult. So our influence is limited, for one thing. Another thing, I can feel Jack smiling in the background because he has a sense of what I'm going to say because of the way that I am. I'm very much just let everything happen. Like, that's my approach. And that might sound cruel or careless, but I'm seeing the bigger picture. So humanity needs to play out its karma. It has to do that. It's like a volcano, you know, it just has to erupt sometimes. And it's similar with the karma of the world. And in the collective, you know, in the individual, that karma might come out as like getting angry or shouting at someone sometimes. In the collective, it comes out like war. And that's not to say I don't care about what's happening. There's awful things happening. But sometimes you have to move through awful things in order to get to something worthwhile. So my view of wars is I will try to help as much as possible, but I'm not going to interfere with what needs to play out.
So it is humanity's free will and choice to allow this consciousness through. You said that there are places where it's more open and places where it's more closed. What can we do individually to open ourselves more to this dragon consciousness and allow it to work through as medicine in our life?
Well, you're already in the right place, so it's already happening. That this transmission that I'm bringing through is already doing that, you know. So you can rewatch this conversation as many times as you need to. The energy that I bring through, you know, it's never going to run out. You can rewatch this 1,000 times. It'll surprise you over and over again because it'll help to evolve your system. You can watch Jack's videos. You can watch the videos of other people who are channeling being similar to myself. That's all valuable. Let me give you something practical. Hold on a second. So Jack finds this funny because the spiritual dimensions are funny to him. Jack is called Jack Morrigan. The Morrigan is a deity. He's taken her name because of their special connection. The Morrigan is the Celtic deity of death. And when she was connecting with Jack, he would be asking her, she would give him a lot of support. And then he's like, well, what can I do for you? And she immediately tells him, you can give me a red apple. And he finds that funny because of all the things that I could give you, of all the things that you want a red apple. And she loves red apples. So he finds it funny. Sometimes he'll go to the supermarket and she will come in while he's walking past the red apple part of the supermarket and want one. But this is just kind of the way that it is between the spiritual realms and the human realms. We like things that don't make sense to you. And we might need certain things because on our end, it's very significant. So there are certain things that I like. For example, if you want to connect with me more, you can do a simple ritual. And Jack doesn't know what that is, so I need to take a moment to download that into his mind, okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So what you do, and there's a few ways that you can do this, and just take what you have easily available to you. Best case scenario, you live near a mountain, in which case you can do a little offering to me near the mountain. While like looking up at the mountain, you can place a piece of clear quartz into the ground, place your hand on it, say my name, Hlian Deshan. Maybe you need a little guidance from me, a little help. You can kind of say a little prayer to me, and that'll help us to form a connection. Obviously, not all of you are going to be living close to mountains. I don't have that expectation. And there's other ways that we can connect. So clear quartz in general is very useful for connecting with me. If you just hold it in your hands and say my name, that can help. Also, scent is a useful thing to aid in connection. So burning a little sage around yourself to clear your energy field, and then crushing up a little bit of mint in your fingers and then smelling that helps to open things up. And then you can hold a piece of quartz and call my name. Lighting a white candle and doing these practices that I've just mentioned is also helpful.
Very practical. Thank you so much for that. And we'll see if people do that ritual, and let us know down in the comments what happened. How can someone know if they have a personal dragon that is guiding them in this lifetime?
That's a good question. It's a common question. And with all of this stuff, like when you're doing that ritual to help to connect with me, one of the most common things that people say is, how do I know this is real? So I may well connect with you, and you may then turn around and go, oh, I'm going crazy. And that's really common, because one of the ways that we connect with people is we will form a connection inside of your mind and start communicating with you in your mind. And Jack began that process about 11 years ago, and it took a while to feel comfortable with that process. And at first it feels strange, and it takes a little while. You can start to learn. Not myself, but other beings helped Jack with that process so that he could understand. Now, linking that to the idea of personal dragons, I would say that all of you are connected to either dragon beings or other supportive beings. It depends on your karmic structure. If you imagine like the cosmos as a single tree, some of you are on a branch which is more like the dragon branch. Some of you are more like the angel branch. Some of you are on both. It's going to vary from person to person. How do you know? It's going to be a gradual process of learning to explore that and develop trust. So use your body as a compass. Use your body as a compass. Your body will, generally speaking, it's going to open up and relax when something is true. So if you're getting a lot of imagery about dragons and you're maybe kind of starting to form some kind of connection, trust what your body's doing. But also, Jack wants me to say this, it's really important to stay grounded in your humanity while this is happening. So there can be quite a strong desire to escape from reality and escape from the difficulties of this world. And some of you will have more of a desire to do that than others. And for those where that's a bit stronger, connecting with these guides can lead to a bit of escapism. And there needs to be a grounding that goes along with that. So use your connection to these higher beings to help you be more human. And you don't have to kind of start thinking that you are a dragon and you're not a human at all, or whatever it may be. You're a human. You're going to be a human for the whole time that you're here. That's okay. Accept that. And allow these different beings that are here to support you just to help you to be human.
One of the final things I would love to touch on with you is you mentioned at the beginning that you're in this marriage with the black dragon of the underworld. What is that dynamic and relationship like, and how can that reflect to us where we can be more in a marriage with our own darkness and our own light? What would you like to speak into that?
I love the question. I'm totally here for that question. Like, so I'm just going to take a moment just to really unify myself with Gorkureth, the black dragon, because then my energy field will teach more than my words can. Hold on a moment. So you were asking, how can you all unify these different parts of yourself? Well, again, you're in the right place, because the fact that I'm holding these frequencies through Jack's body will automatically inspire your body in the same direction. So that's the starting point. Honesty, self-honesty will help you. You don't have to be anything other than what you are. You don't have to be anything else. Now, that underworld territory, it's filled with all the things you don't want to be. It's filled with that stuff. And everybody puts stuff down there. I'm not allowed to be that because society says I can't be that. I'm not allowed to be that because my family says I can't be that. Whatever it may be. It all gets stuffed down there. But the more honest you are, and you don't have to express any of this to anyone. I'm talking about self-honesty. And the more you start to accept all of this, it's like, okay, I'm a human being. Of course I've got strange things about myself. I like weird things. I like things that are socially unacceptable. I like things that other people don't like. I'm unique. I don't have to be anything else. This is what I am. And the more you move into that state of acceptance, the more the underworld starts to bloom. It starts to bloom like a flower. And as it does, the energies of the overworld, where I am, will come into it. And then it becomes like making love. But it's the entire cosmos making love through you. And that is a high state of spiritual unification.
What would we call that state?
That's a good question. One moment.
Bliss, maybe?
I would call it right. I would just say it's right. It's natural. It's the way of things. And I would suggest that every human being has the potential to reach that state and go beyond it. In many ways, it doesn't even need a name. It simply is. And I don't want to talk about this in a way that makes people feel pressure to somehow try to attain this thing as if it's a goal outside of themselves. Because it's when you drop the need to find those goals that your body will just naturally go into these states, because you're already more incredible and more amazing than you could have ever imagined. You, my friend, are more incredible than all of the greatest celebrities or pop stars or movie stars that you look up to, you yourself, little old me, is the unification of these immense cosmic forces. It's present in each and every one of you. You are all miracles of creation. You do not need to be any more than you already are.
Just letting that land for a moment. Thank you. Thank you for making this connection with us and for showing up and for transmitting all of the cosmic and beautiful energy that you exude. If you're ready, we can bring Jack back in the game.
Thank you, Emilio. Appreciate you. And I'll bring Jack back now. He'll take a moment because I was moving quite a lot of energy there. So just give him a second to bring himself into his humanity more. Oof. Oh my God. Don't know if you can hear that. That's my head cracking.
I heard that.
Yeah, that's literally a thing. Like when my Kundalini awakened, it started happening. And I read about it in a... Have you heard of Mantak Chia? This
yes, of course.
Yeah, like he's the only person who I saw who had written about this. And he was like, sometimes when the energy awakens, it's so powerful it cracks bone. And I was like,
oh my God,
I get you. So that's kind of what's happening when I'm cracking my head.
How did that feel? What do you remember from our conversation with the white dragon?
Yeah, it was great. The main takeaway for me was like at the end there, because she was unifying the white and the black, and I could feel that like happening inside of my body. And it's like there's like no problem. Like there's nothing, like there's the part of my mind that could create problems just like isn't present.
The ego dissolves in many ways.
Yeah, like that dissolving, and then just this beautiful process happening, and it's like outside of my control, and it just feels like freedom.
Wow. Beautiful. How did Egypt feel?
Not quite like that. Yeah, because we were talking before, like how it's funny because when we first met, you had just come back from Egypt, right? You were
the week after Egypt, I talked with you, and now you got back from Egypt a week ago.
Yeah, I know. Like, what are the chances of that happening? Like, that's crazy. Egypt was tough. I'll be just straight with you. Egypt was tough. I didn't really have any expectations going in. I was actually most worried about being in Cairo because, like, I tend to I'm quite an introvert. So obviously, Cairo is a loud, chaotic place. Surprisingly, Cairo itself, I felt like I was in the center of a hurricane. Like, I just felt peace. I felt amazing in Cairo. Seeing the pyramids for the first time, just tears in my eyes, it's like, that's the pyramids. That's pretty amazing. I've known about these things for basically my whole life, and now I'm looking at them with my own eyes. Yeah, look, I know there's something in that where it's like, this is not the first time I've seen these. Like, I've been here before. Like, I felt like I was at home. So it felt really beautiful in that sense. In terms of the actual activation, it was really tough. I mentioned to you, like, we were all assigned a deity to work with, and I was assigned Sekhmet. And any of you who
how was that chosen?
So it's the trip was led by my friend Anna Oliveira, and she assigned us all a planet. So I was assigned Mars, And then my partner Lola, she's an astrologer, and she kind of looked into that, and she found that each of the planets links to a specific Egyptian deity. So for Mars, it was Sekhmet. But it was, it was Anna's intuition of like who was assigned to what. And when I first found out, I was like, oh, what? I don't really know Sekhmet. I don't really feel that connection. It turned out it was perfect, and I kind of wish it hadn't.
Well, Sekhmet is seen traditionally as both a fierce warrior, lion goddess, lioness, and also a healer. So it's a very interesting balance that she has, and she carries that. How did you experience that balance of both, the fierceness, the rage, the destruction, and also the healing on the other side?
Yeah. I mean, I can look back at it now and I completely understand why I was assigned her. So one of the first deities I connected with was Kali, who has that same energy. She's really destructive and it can create quite a lot of turbulence, but she's also transformative and healing. The Morrigan is the same. So is Hela, and so is Sekhmet. And I've known for a while that they see themselves as sisters, and they're all kind of part of the same thing. So it was something that I was very familiar with. But you're being initiated by a goddess of the underworld. It's never going to be easy. So yeah, I was basically confronted with some of my worst fears, just playing out before my eyes, and then thinking, God, this is so difficult. And then another one comes, which is even harder. And that just happening for quite a while, but what happened, like Sekhmet is all about authenticity and truth. Like you stand in your fire, and no matter what comes your way, you stay in you. And that's what she taught me. Like she presented me with challenges where it was like, is he gonna back down, or is he gonna run away, or is he gonna do this or that, and it like tests. And I knew I just had to stay in it, and I knew people weren't gonna like it. I knew people were gonna reject me. I knew people were gonna turn away. I knew people were gonna talk about me behind my back, and manipulate other people to turn against me as well. I knew that was going to happen. I was predicting it as it was happening. It's like, this is like my worst nightmare, this happening. And I still did it. And I knew like that I'd passed the test, like at some point. Like she just kind of came to me and said, it was hard though.
It's almost like an initiation of, these deities are guiding us into our own depths and our true potential. And even the dragons themselves say that we are a memory of your potential. And you lead your groups of dragon medicine, and you said that you this year feel that there's something new arising where you need to start doing the initiation of the goddesses, and it is the year of the snake. So you said that the snake is a symbol of the dark goddesses, like Hela, like the Morrigan, like Sekhmet, maybe even Hathor too. What was that really alchemy of the dark goddesses moving through you, and how has that experience changed you? I mean, I know you're really fresh out of it, it's been a week, so I understand that, it's still moving through, but what do you feel are those changes within you that are coming through on the other side?
Yeah. And that what you're describing there has been fascinating for me, because like I was running dragon medicine and everyone was telling me like, oh, you're the dragon guy, and I was like, I'm not the dragon guy. I don't know what you're talking about. Like I'm doing this right now because it's true, but I know it's going to change. And I always felt like, I was like, I think the goddesses are going to come through at some point. Like it feels like that. And I had a meeting where I was talking about that, and I was like, really like, no, it's the goddesses, and we're going to have to let go of the dragons and move on. And then I found out we had just moved into the year of the snake, like from the year of the dragon into the year of the snake. And I was like, what? That's so crazy. So yeah, we're doing the last dragon medicine on the 23rd of April. That's going to be the last live for the foreseeable future. And then we're moving on to something involving the goddesses, which is going to be super exciting. It's going to be great. But you were asking about like how that feels. I mean, honestly, like we came straight out of Egypt and then straight into an eclipse season. So I barely have had a chance to breathe, is what it feels like. I think well, actually, no, I can say some things. I have never felt so much faith in myself as I feel now. And I realize like how much anxiety I've had in my system because I didn't trust myself. Because I wasn't acting in a way that proved to me that I am actually a really trustworthy person who's in integrity and will stand in that integrity even when I'm being tested over and over again. And that's what happened. And I feel like I've been cooked in like these fires, and now I've come out the other side, and it's like I trust myself, and I had a lot of challenges with people who weren't being trustworthy, but that doesn't matter. If I can trust myself, it doesn't matter. It's just taken a huge weight off my psyche. Like there's loads of details I don't need to worry about now. All that matters is this in tune, is this true for me? Then I do it. I don't have to worry about the details. So it's simplified my life and made me much more powerful.
What is anxiety energetically?
That's a good question.
Because obviously there's the psychological perspective of what is anxiety and what to do when you have it. But how do you see it now that, you're moving through that and out of it as well, from such a spiritual perspective as well? I think it would be a different take on what anxiety really is.
Yeah, like we had a good conversation recently where this kind of came up. And I think for me right now, I would probably say that anxiety is inauthenticity. It's the parts of us that aren't fully true to ourselves. And like, even with everything that I've been through, I still have anxiety. Like I can feel it in my body right now. Like I'm not trying to claim that I don't have anxiety. I really, really don't like it when people try and act like that. We're all human. But I do think that that's a lot of it. We're not true to ourselves, and we don't really trust ourselves. And honestly, a lot of the time we're right about that. Like, because we see our own experience, so we see the way that we give our power away to people, or we distort the truth and manipulate and do all these things. And that creates anxiety in our body because our body doesn't trust what we're doing. We know we're out of integrity, and it creates stress. And it's one of the things, like with this whole situation and everything that's been going on, and all the stress in Egypt, because I came through those trials and I stayed true to myself, I walked away with my head held high. It reduced the anxiety in my body. And it's like I could have sold out, and made things a little bit easier, but I would have known that I'd done that, and then I wouldn't be trusting myself so much. So I would be left with actually a kind of weight to carry because of that. So it's a real gift to ourselves to really stay in our integrity, even when we're challenged. We actually reduce our anxiety by doing that.
What I'm getting is that maybe what placed those tests and those challenges in your path was you yourself, to test, we know when we're ready to level up. And, I truly believe that there's a higher aspect of ourselves that is a witness to this third dimensional game. And it places tests, people, experiences that are going to push us to a next level, to what else is out there. What is Jack 2.0? What is Emilio 2.0? It's really comforting to know that it's not the world against us. Like, we ourselves know how powerful we are. So that higher aspect is like, let me place this person in their path that is going to push their buttons, that is going to betray them, that is going to do all these things, and see how we react or how we respond. I prefer using the word respond over react, but it's really interesting to know that.
Yeah. And I do think that, like, one of the moments of clarity since coming back from Egypt, I've had to be honest with myself and be like, okay, how did I create this? I believe that we're always the one creating what happens in our lives. It's just usually we're not conscious of it. So I have to walk the walk, if I'm going to talk the talk. So I have to look at that in myself. And I could see ways that I was kind of holding on to those fears, so I'm creating it because that fear is in my body. And there's a part of me that loves drama. That was one of the big realizations. Like, there's this part of me that loves drama and was enjoying it all. And then the part of me wanting to continue the drama, and like seeing the part of me that's feeding off it. There was this moment where I just couldn't sleep over the last few days. And I wake up in the middle of the night and my brain's just going round and round and round, thinking about all of these situations. And at some point, some part of me stepped in and was like, just drop all the drama. Just stop it. I've literally got tattooed on my fingers, like, give away the stone. I don't know if you can see it properly, but it says give away the stone. It's lyrics from a Tool song. And it's exactly this. It's real. There's this part of me that exists inside my body that feeds off that drama, and that's the stone. And that's what I need to give away. And when I started releasing it, it literally felt like hot coals, like falling off my body, and all this pressure and stuff releasing. And it's like, there's a part of me that's addicted to drama and creates it. And I have to accept that.
How do you define drama?
I guess, like, emotionally intense situations that are usually negative. There's something kind of thrilling and addictive about that. Feels exciting, feels powerful in some way. And I think now that I'm talking about it, I think there's probably something in it where it's sort of like I feel like I'm in control of life when I'm doing that. And it probably helps to alleviate my ego's sense of not being in control. Or my inner child even. Actually, yeah, okay, here's honesty time. It's my inner child. It just popped in. Because, like, I had a really hard childhood. Like, it was not easy. And one of the few ways that I could get attention was by having an emotional meltdown. And that's still inside me, and I remember, like, that happening, and the sense of kind of satisfaction of getting my mum's attention, like the pleasure of getting my mum's attention but it was obviously linked to something really unhealthy, like the way that I was getting it. And I think that's kind of still active to some extent in me.
And it's beautiful that that's coming up, because I feel like whatever comes up in these conversations is also a reflection of what the collective goes through and what the people that are drawn to this conversation are going through. And in our first conversation toward the end, you so generously shared a segment for light language that really soothed people. And you know, it's one of the most played back parts of our conversation. And
really,
I was wondering if what we've talked about today around, you know, dropping those dramas and going into who we truly are and our authenticity, is there any dragon light language that you would like to share to help people move through those energies that we touched on today, that they can always come back to when they need it?
Yeah, that's a great idea. And I really love that, because, you know, any of you out there who are really trying to be more authentic, I'm speaking from first-hand experience, it can be really hard. Like, a lot of people do not want your authenticity, right? And will pressure you to fall back into being inauthentic because that's easier for them. So it's really nice to have a place that you can come back to and rest and regenerate. And you deserve to have that. You know, you're doing really good work. You deserve to have that. Okay, yeah, I can do it. I just felt Thlean Deshan wants to do it, so I'd be happy to.
He's the main character today.
Yeah.
She's the main character.
Yeah, nicely done. I was going to say it, but I was like, oh, no, it's okay. But yeah, she is, Thlean Deshan is she, and then Gorkorith is he. So yeah, that's like the connection that they have, which is interesting, because a lot of the times this is considered masculine and the below is considered feminine, but for whatever reason they're the other way around. But yeah, I'll bring them through just briefly, just to do the chanting.
Beautiful.
So this is still Thlian Deshan speaking. I'll just briefly say, I'm just giving you all a blessing to move through these times. I'm also synchronizing this message with the eclipse season. There are certain, this is difficult to describe, but reality is a vast multi-threaded tapestry, and the eclipse season creates different alterations to the fabric of the tapestry. So I'm singing to you, and I'm also singing in a sense to the eclipse itself, to aid the portal of this eclipse to bring as much benefit to you all as possible. But I'm going to check out now and let Jack come back in for the conclusion.
Thank you.
Yeah. Guru. Hey.
No bone crack this time.
I did. Yeah, it was with my shoulders.
It's so interesting. Like, that language feels so familiar to me.
Oh,
and it's like every time I hear it,
That's
it just connects
crazy.
me. I don't know.
Oh, sorry, we're a bit out of sync, I think.
Yeah.
That's great. I'm really happy that it does, and it does that for me too. Like, before I even knew it was anything to do with dragons, I would walk around my house talking like that, and it would just soothe me. But we found out, me and Lola found out something when we were in Egypt, because we were really close to Saudi Arabia. We could see Saudi Arabia from where we were. So it was really near the Middle East. And one of the dragons is called Thanran. And I knew that there was a city called from ancient times. And it was not that far away. So we did a little bit of research, and I was like, do they have any dragon myths in in that city? It turns out they do. They have one of the oldest dragon myths in humanity. It's believed to be possibly the original dragon myth. And the deity is called Kur. And I was like, Kur, like Gord, Cord, Earth.
Oh.
I was like, what?
Well,
and the description of Kur, because it could be any kind of dragon, right? Could be anything. Do you know what it is? It's a black dragon of the underworld.
Holy shit.
I know, I've got chills all over me. It's like, what?
is one of the most important cities of ancient Sumeria. One of the first civilizations that we know of. Do you remember what the dragon myth was about their culture?
Yeah, so he's like the dragon of chaos, just like how the Norse talked about. And he was talking about Ragnarok in that other video. Well, that's basically what he is. He's like the dragon of the underworld. He's a link between the underworld and the human consciousness. And the description is almost exactly how I experience Gorkures. It's mad. It's mad.
We talked in our first conversation that almost every culture has a dragon myth, which also, portrays the fact that this is really stored in our ancient memory, in our DNA, these cosmic beings, interdimensional, powerful beings. Is there a specific dragon story that you've connected with the most when you're researching maybe the Norse mythology, or maybe mythology from South America? Almost every culture, probably every culture, has had dragons at one point or not in their story. So which one connects you the most to those beings?
That's a good question. I mean, the one with Kur, although I don't know a huge amount about it, that just kind of blew my mind. But I think the one that I feel the most connection with is the symbology in the Norse rune stones. because I feel like my own life is that. Like I've gone, it's like, I was saying that the rune stones were originally, everything was in balance and then it moved out of balance, and you could see it happening over time more and more. I feel like my life has been that same thing, but just the other way around. Like I was really disconnected from the underworld, and then I've become more and more connected. And through that, I've discovered the dragons, including the dragon of the underworld. But, of course, there's many of them. But just something about that imagery, and that, like, I've literally got Gorkore tattooed on my skin, and I feel like he's probably the one I'm most connected to. So any myth that has this dragon of the underworld in it resonates with me.
One of the maybe only movies in the Marvel Cinematic Universe that has a dragon in it is Thor Ragnarok. So back again.
I also love the Marvel movies. I think you know that. And yeah. I'm trying to remember what the dragon is in Ragnarok.
Well, it's the fire dragon. I'm looking over here. It's the fire dragon. It breaks free after Thor kills Surtur and chases after, but is killed by the Bifrost Bridge. Anyways, that's just what It's just a very interesting movie. Hela is in it as well.
Oh yeah,
Thor's sister. Yeah,
she's pretty badass.
I know. Well, brother, we could say what you're gonna say.
I don't know. I can't even remember. I can't remember what it was.
Well, anyways, we can talk forever. People can already realize that we're really good friends as well offline. Sure. And I would love to wrap this up with the final trio that we always do at the end of every show. Before that, where would you send people to connect with you, connect with the Dragon Medicine, and all the upcoming amazing projects that you're unfolding into right now?
Thank you. Yeah, I'm super excited about it all. So my YouTube channel, I guess we can put links somewhere for these. So there's my YouTube channel where I do channelings pretty regularly. Had a bit of a gap recently because of Egypt, but I'm getting back to it now. And my website, which is myrisingrose.com. It's because they are the dragons of the Rising Rose. Like I mentioned earlier, it's the final opportunity to join Dragon Medicine Live on the 23rd of April. And we're going to be working with the upper chakra dragons, which is the crown chakra dragon, Ishmikal, and then Gorkores and Hliandeshan, who you experienced today. Is the ending of an amazing chapter, actually. Like, it's been incredible doing this. We've been running it for since June last year, and it's just wild to see the changes in people and the evolution that's taking place. It's an honor to do this work. Honestly, sometimes I kind of check myself. I'm like, how did this even happen? But it's wonderful. And then you can follow on YouTube and my website, where we're going to be updating about the developments with the goddesses as well.
Beautiful. And we're also in the midst of developing another collaboration together that will be exclusive to the subscribers of this channel, this community, and they'll be the first to hear about it when it comes out in May. So just teasing that for a moment. It's going to be a very powerful collaboration between Jack and I, and I'm really excited about it. I know we both lit up and we're like, this is going to be amazing for people. I know. So I'm super excited.
It was wild. That. We had a great conversation, and it all just kind of downloaded in almost instantly and just formed itself. So yeah, it's going to be amazing.
Yeah. Beautiful. And for the final trio, take as much time as you need to answer these because they're pretty deep. I crafted them just for you. And the first one is, if you could plant a single question in the minds of every human being on earth today, one question that would lead them to their awakening, what would it be?
I mean, I think it would be the one that's probably had the biggest impact on me, which is who am I? So that's like, there's a whole school of spirituality which is based around that question, who am I? And one of the leading figures of that is the Hindu saint Ramana Maharshi. Who am I? I mean, we could talk a lot about that, but for me, what's happened over time in exploring that question is, it's like, well, I thought I was just a human, and it turns out I'm the entire cosmos, and lots of other stuff as well. So, and that's endlessly unfolding. So I'd like that question to be there. Although I think it would have a pretty dramatic effect on society if we did that.
I'm gonna call you Mr. Cosmos.
I know. When I saw you in Madrid, you were enjoying that sound.
That's your favorite word, bro. Cosmos.
I know.
If you could glimpse beyond this moment into a time after the Great Return, what do you see? What awaits humanity?
Man, I get these little glimpses sometimes, and I'll just start crying. Like, I have this one kind of vision that comes through, and it's like, I don't know if this is literally what it is, or whether it's just the feel of it, but it's like everything is bathed in golden light. Like, there's this almost moment in this vision that I have where it's like the storm clouds part, and just light shines down, and I just look up, and there's literally just gods and goddesses like moving through the sky and returning to earth, and just bathing everything in golden light. And it's like, we did it, it's over. And thank God. But I don't know, don't quote me on that as like that's literally going to happen, but that's what it feels like.
We did it, and we're doing it. Beautiful. If this conversation was the last one that you ever recorded, what is one truth you would want to leave behind as your legacy?
Well, that's a great question, man. Put me on the spot.
Never asked that before. Yeah, I've never asked that before. That just came through. I was like,
That's a big thing to ask. If this is the last thing that I get to say. Oh, give me a moment. There's something. So similar to what Leon Deschamps was saying before, and it's basically, if I just get to speak to everyone listening to this, you don't have to be anything. You are exactly what you're meant to be. No one can tell you any different. That will always be true. So rest and rise. Rise.
Hell yeah.
I feel like a character in a Marvel movie now.
Like Doctor Strange, is that you, bro? Let's go. Brother, it's always a joy and a pleasure to weave together with you. We have endless territory to explore together, and I know we will for many, many years to come. Can't wait to go visit you in your city. Yeah, you already came to mine, so I'm going to go visit you now. And and just encouraging that we get this consciousness out to the world by sharing it. And I think this is a conversation worth sharing. So thank you so much, brother. Until next time.
For sure. Thank you so much.